linnoitusten malli on otettu Ruotsista, Göteborgin ja Karlskronan linnoituksista.
Särkä Island is part of the Suomenlinna Sea Fortress. The small fortress was built in the early stages of the sea fortress to protect the ships that sail. Sea boating is a very popular hobby amongst the people of Helsinki. There are berths for around 11,000 boats on the shores of the city.
Uuanlinnan ja Eiran kaupunginosat ovat Helsingin kalliimpia asuinalueita. Kauniit pastellinväriset talot ovat hieno esimerkki 1900-luvun alun jugendtyylistä.
Two of the most exclusive neighborhoods of Helsinki are Eira and Uuanlinna on the south side of the city. The houses represent the Art Nouveau of the early 20th century.
Ja Englannin laivastot pommittivat Viaporia. Suomen itsenäistyttyä telakan konepajan valtasi valtion lentokonetehdas, joka ryhtyi rakentamaan ilmavoimille kalustoa. 1930-luvulla Suomenlinnassa oli sukellusvenelaivaston tukikohta sekä suurtelakka, jossa huollettiin merivoimien panssarilaivoja.
We are now in the middle of the Suomenlinna Islands. Here you can see the shipyard. It was built in the 1750s and is therefore one of the oldest dry docks still being used in Europe. During the Swedish rule, they built many ships for the coastal fleet of the Swedish Navy here. First several large battleships and later dozens of smaller gunboats. During the Russian rule, the shipyard was quite neglected, and during the Crimean War,
40-luvulla kirkko muutettiin luterilaiseksi, jolloin muun muassa sipulikupolit poistettiin. Kirkko on nykyään erittäin suosittu vihkikirkko.
The Suomenlinna Church has a lighthouse on the roof. This is a unique feature, as there are only a few churches with a working lighthouse like this in the world. The church was built in 1854 and was originally a Russian Orthodox church. In the 1920s, the typical Orthodox cupola and 3 queens reigned. The actual decisions regarding the kingdom were made by the parliament, which consisted of members of the nobility, the clergy, and the commoners. The king was usually appointed by nobles, but there are periods in the history of Sweden when the country was divided into regions and each had its own king. From the 16th century, there's one king or queen in Sweden, and the crown is hereditary. King Gustav Vasa, who founded the city of Helsinki, introduced this ruling in 1544.
kirkkorahoituksen rakennusurakka aloitettiin kustaanmiekan varustuksella. Kuninkaan portin vieressä kuningas Fredrik I muurasi Viaporin ensimmäisen kiven vuonna 1748. Kuningas Adolf Fredrik
travels through Finland, and the coastal town of Degerby was renamed Lovisa after his wife Queen Lovisa Ulrika. Adolf Fredrik died of a stroke in 1771 after his evening meal. For dinner, he enjoyed lobster, caviar, kippers, sauerkraut, meat with vegetables, and champagne. For dessert, he had 14 of his favorite pastry called semla, served with hot milk. And he seemed to think that the king actually died from overeating.
Saaristomme syntyi jääkauden aikana, kun jopa 2 kilometriä korkeat jäämassat kulkivat pohjoisesta etelään siloittain saarten kalliot, muodostaen tuhansittain pippusaaria ja luotoja. Helsingin edustalle on noussut runsaasti saaria myös maan kohoamisen myötä. Itämeri on erittäin nuori meri, nykyisessä muodossaan vasta 4000 vuotta vanha. Suomenlahdessa ei ole nousu- ja laskuvettä, sillä Itämeri on yhteydessä Pohjanmereen vain Tanskan Helsingin eläintarha Korkeasaari on perustettu jo vuonna 1889. Lumileopardi on Korkeasaaren erikoisimpia eläimiä, mutta myös esimerkiksi karhut, leijonat, apinat ja valvikengurut vetävät niin pieniä kuin suurempiakin vierailijoita luokseen. Korkeasaareen pääsee kesäisin vesibusseilla, mutta sinne on myös bussiyhteys Ulosaaren kautta. Jalle Eurooppaan lähinnä laivoja varten. Aikoinaan Suomessa on ajateltu, että tervalla on myös terveysvaikutteita ja sanonta, jos terva, viina ja sauna ei auta, on sairaus kuolemaksi, juontaa tästä. Onko siis ihme, että meillä tänä päivänä on tervashampoota, tervaleijonapastilleja ja tervalla maustettua viinaa?
Haka neighborhood is a fancy area of Helsinki. The name translates into the crown's pastures, and the name dates to the 18th century, when the horses of the crown's artillery were taken for pasture in this area. This part of the city houses some important institutions, such as the Presidential Palace, the Lutheran Cathedral, the Government Palace, and the Bank of Finland, as well as many buildings of the University of Helsinki. The central part is built in Empire style. Katajanokka district was built in 1868. It is the main church for the Orthodox congregation in Helsinki and the largest Orthodox church in all Western Europe. The church cupolas are covered with 22-karat gold. In 1913, but it is now owned by the Finnish Officers Union. There's a popular restaurant in the building. the pier, you see our icebreakers on the summer holiday. These icebreakers keep the harbors of Finland accessible during winter months. The big breakers can break through ice as thick as 5 meters. The handsome yellow building behind the pier, designed by German-born architect Carl Ludwig Engel as a barracks for the Russian Marine, is now used by the Finnish Ministry of Foreign Affairs.